everyone. This is Kartike. Welcome back to another podcast with one of my community friend, you can say, Aditya. Let's get started with it. And we are focusing on more on community side, startup side, and how like there are many juniors in my side after like panel discussion in code for cause. Everyone watched that, but there are some doubts, some juniors. So I have bring that doubts to you. So I think so you saw resolve that part. Okay. So first of all, started with your journey. Uh, just give me some intro, bro, because I can do it, but if you give your from yourself, it will like a enlightenment for others. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely. Hey everyone, thank you so much for checking out this podcast. I am Aditya Oberai. I'm currently a third year computer science and engineering student at Amity. I've been working actively with various student tech communities for over 1 year now. I'm actively working as a Microsoft Learn student ambassador. I'm core team for our developer student club at Amity. Um, More recently, I have joined Major League Hacking in their coaches program. So those are just some highlights about me. If I have to talk about the tech side, I primarily work with Xamarin, Azure, and I'm a .NET Foundation member as well.
Okay, so like first of all, move into the community side.
Yeah.
From a recent podcast, I am focusing on more on the like in the town area, how we can build the community on town area. We have many communities in metropolitan cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, even Chennai. But when we are focusing on the community side, we are not reaching to the where we need the community right now. That is in the town area. Like there are some small colleges, or you can say a three-tier colleges which people here thinking that after our podcast with Ali, they told me that it is not related to Mumbai or Delhi or any town area. He is saying that it is depend on the a particular person who want to crack a particular thing or a big thing. So from that point of view, I want to ask from your views, like if you want to build community like in all over India, if it is a single brand or in a many brands, but how can you do that, like if you exist in my place, like I'm studying in a town in Chhattisgarh. So how you can what are the strategies, yeah, how we can you can build the community trend here, because in many states community trend is here, but in Chhattisgarh it is like we can say not it is here but not that comparatively related to Delhi or Bombay. So how can you, like, what's your views, what's your views on you, bro?
Definitely. So one thing that I will mention that when we take metros like Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, which have an existing tech audience, I mean, both in universities, colleges, as well as in the professional space, it is easier to scale up communities in terms of numbers. But to be honest, at least in my perspective, when I talk about a successful community, numbers are not my primary metric. My first metric is how engaging a community is, how actively discussing a community is. So when you take your start, you don't have to worry about making the biggest community quickly. You have to
Yeah.
focus on making the most active community.
Yeah.
Now, that means you have to constantly engage, you have to constantly discuss, you have to constantly meet.
Yeah.
Meeting, of course, in person is not possible right now, but luckily in a virtual scenario, you can meet with people anywhere you want, which is
Yeah.
a big advantage.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so your start has to be by increasing the activity and engagement as much as possible. And the second aspect there is that you have to, okay, this is something that I try to maintain at least when I'm working in initiatives that I try to focus on, and that is that we try to maintain a flat hierarchy within the team. So we
Mm.
don't have a system where someone is superior to another. Everyone is an equally contributing member. Everyone's voice matters just as much.
Yeah.
So you have to create a system where everyone is respected equally and
Yeah.
everyone can contribute as much as they want to.
Yeah.
Because the moment you have a community that's actively working, that's actively engaging, that is
Mm.
actively giving back to the members,
Remember, yeah.
your
Yeah.
members start advocating for your community as well.
Mm. Yeah.
And the moment you have that sort of a system where your members can advocate for you, they will automatically help scale your community to a larger and larger extent.
Yeah. Mm. Okay. So my question is now, like, I know you from Uttarakhand and you migrated
Yeah.
for your college studies on Delhi or Noida. If you're living only in the Uttarakhand side, you know Uttarakhand. Like many of you know, like if we are comparing from Delhi point of view, I'm just saying, like, so if you're studying there only in Uttarakhand only. So if you want to create an you can say an impact over in Uttarakhand students, so how will you, like you say, or obviously in the previous question only, like we have to giving more on the contributing side to the students. If we contributing to the our juniors or our batchmates, they obviously giving back to the community back. So my main question is, like, if it is like Uttarakhand, or if I'm just going to a very far, like I'm going for a seven sisters like Manipur side. I have some of my friends here, but they have a same logic. Like if we are start building our community, okay, it is a personal growth. It's also good for our personal growth, but at the when it comes to the technical point, we are not growing at as much as if we are doing as an individual. So yeah, bro, what's our point on that?
All right. So for me, I mean, I can speak from an Uttarakhand perspective particularly because I'm in Dehradun right now. I'm from Dehradun. I grew up in Dehradun. Um, with every state that is growing, with every location that is growing, the biggest point where you have to start impacting is the universities. Now, a great thing, at least about Dehradun, is that it is a big student hub. You've got
Yeah.
schools and you've got colleges. And these colleges don't have people just from the particular cities. You know, you also have people from nearby towns. You have
Mm.
people from nearby, I mean, other locations within that state as well.
Yeah.
So when you start with a location like this, your universities can become your first point of contact where you can start growing
Yeah.
from. And that means that sometimes, you know, your start is going to be small. You're going to start with maybe 5, 10 people. But,
Yeah.
you know, if you have that sort of a mindset where you're focusing on giving back and contributing, those
Yeah.
10 can bring 10 more. These
Mm.
20 can then bring 20 more. And you can actually see that sort of a growth if
Yeah.
you consistently keep giving back. And what happens is that since people from one location, I mean, with one college, are not just from one location, if you have folks from different locations
Mm.
within your community and you're really giving back, you can and
Mm.
definitely enable these folks to share this experience with folks at their homes, at their home cities, hometowns, where they're
Mm.
coming from. So you can definitely take those experiences there. And that has become significantly easier in a virtual format.
Yeah. Okay, so my point is now, like as I say, I have discussed with Ali. My college, or you can say my region, is totally devoted to, I think so. You know about the gate. So here they are no, like there are people thinking a thought like your ideology is that, like if we need a good package, we need to crack gate. Otherwise, there is no use of studying in our college, something like that. Okay, so. I have not interest in really in gate point of view, because if my point is that if you want to research on in a very depth end, then you go to the MTech one. Or if you are just going for the like job, it is not necessary. I have made that video on, like, what are my views on the gate, is it really worth it or not. So according to you, like if I have to change the ideology here, so I if ideology here about the gate, like gate is not the only path you need to follow to crack a big giant. So according to you, like what I have did, because I have in the same year, but I'm not reached that moment, like you can say a public figure, you can say. You in my community, you're like a public figure, really, because I share your MSP video. If I am also following your MSP video when I'm applying at that moment. So
Oh yeah,
तो
that
I
video.
shared the video and everyone is saying, यार प्लीज आदित्य भैया को लेके आओ भैया, यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है, मतलब हम लोग को
Really?
समझ नहीं
Oh,
आ रहा है. So yeah, so that moment you're like a public figure here. But like if same thing, I'm asked same question with Ali. If you are not you're having a public figure, nothing you are having, so how you build the community here where the ideology is totally dependent on the gate? What's your view on that, bro?
so, you know, there are typically two ways of changing an ideology. First is to break it down.
Yeah.
Second is to show that there's something else that's great as well.
Yeah.
I do not go for the first because um, what happens is that, you know, when you go with the first one, that is to show that it's not a good ideology,
Mm.
you end up breaking people's beliefs, which is not the right way. Since
Yeah.
even while it's not for us, it doesn't mean that it's not a great option anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so what I focus on is that if I have to show that there is that you know there's a different path people can take, um, I will focus on creating more awareness about that. I will focus on creating what's great about it, how this is an option that people can go for as well, because
Mm.
there are typically two ways where people hide away from a certain ideology. One, they're not aware of it. Second,
Mm.
they're scared of it.
Yeah.
The
True.
moment you remove fear,
Mm.
when you show people that they can,
Yeah.
then that will definitely get more attraction towards it. And um, you can always show that another ideology is great while respecting the first one as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Mm.
for me, a lot of my work is built on top of respect. I do not believe in showing that something else is bad if
Mm.
it can actually help someone as well. Because of course, keeping gate in mind now, for someone who
Mm.
wants to work in an environment like, say, for example, in any of the PSUs, keeping in mind those, or
Mm.
wants to go, of course, for a master's, that's in India, that's another perspective as well. For them, gate is a great option. It's the option that they should go for. But just because gate is a great option doesn't mean something else can't be a good option.
Yeah.
And you can start by bringing that perspective that while this is great, it's great, there's nothing bad in gate, there's something else that's good as well.
Yeah.
It is the path that you prefer.
Same thing,
You
actually,
can talk about why you prefer. Yeah.
because same thing, as you say, I have respected the one option. Like, I have created a video, like, is the gate really worth it?
Mhm.
I'm just respecting the gate. Like, gate exam is very good. Like, those who are doing or those who are cracking, you can say they are in the point of the gate, in the gate preparation point of, they are the gems who are cracking, or you can who are in the top thousand ranking. But
Mhm.
here there is a, like, you can say, भीड़ चाल हो रही है कि
Ah.
इस बंदे ने फोड़ा था ना, तो हाँ यार हम लोग का भी हो जाएगा. मतलब that's thinking, or you can say the ideology is that, like, we have to this only, then we only that, because as you know, like in Chhattisgarh, not a big MNCs, or you can say even like, if I am pointing out the MSP or the DSCs. MSPs came recently here, like in the Durg, and they are very slow down. Reality is that I am a part of a mentee. You can say it is not a not a part of MSP. I know, but I'm just helping out the MSP, how I build the MSP here. But same, the leader is not that efficient to build out thing. So many questions arrived. Like, I applied for DSC lead, I applied for MSP. Okay, so in the in like in my university, my college are not autonomous, but first of all, when I applying for DSC lead, there are two-person, one which is starting just applied with, there is no back, there is no support, and there is second one who has little bit technical skill or management skill less than that person, but he has a referral by the previous DSC lead. Is it possible? Then this person is will be like worthy, or for DSC lead, like, there is a referral point is
So
here in DSC leads. Yeah.
there is a referral system within the DSC program, and the idea there essentially is that if you've had a DSC in the past, you've had a core team member who's consistently contributed, who's consistently helped uplift that particular DSC, then
Yeah.
they should definitely get some consideration. And
Yeah.
the lead, that is definitely at the lead's discretion. The lead has to be careful who that person is nominating,
Yeah.
because I'll tell you, because so even at my DSC, so last year's DSC lead nominated this year's lead, and I know for a fact because I've worked with him at different instances. He's been actively working with RG. He's been working with RGDG for quite some time now. He's been actively working with communities for some time now. So I know that it was a justified decision to have him nominated,
Yeah.
and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely that gets consideration, but of course I can't comment on the DSC lead selection process because I haven't been through that right now. But
Yeah.
definitely they are going to be checking how good or bad some
Like,
person is,
it
because
is not
just
like
because
I'm not
someone's
disrespecting
nominated,
that
just
person.
because
I'm
someone
not disrespecting that person. But like, when you view your profile, like when I'm comparing a profile, a person who has contributed in open source, he has done a lot of workshop, he's a public speaker, and not he is selecting those who are selecting who get a referral, and he's got just in one certification that like of DSL, go suppose. So is it worth it? Because
I'll tell you a difference. I'll tell you a difference there. So
yeah.
it's one thing to have a shiny profile. It's another to have done the work to uplift that community. And I have, in my personal experience, seen that there are a lot of people who have done fantastic stuff who may
Yeah.
not have the shiniest things on their profiles, but that doesn't mean they can't work for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're not as able. I
Yeah.
know for a fact because when I started off, I mean, of course, if I talk about my profile, I focus a lot on it.
Yeah.
But I know I have peers who've not focused on their profiles, but I know they are better at some aspects than me.
Yeah.
And I learn from them on a regular basis. So I
Yeah.
know that it is very much possible. And
Okay.
when
Yeah.
you talk about those interviews,
Yeah.
someone who's nominated will also have the interview process. They will
Yeah.
also be questioned, their thought processes will still be judged.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if that is the better mind to lead the community, then they are worthy of that.
Yeah, because like from the point of MSP, like many juniors are saying like भैया मेरे को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, like there is someone in second year and they are applied in first year, they rejected, even I rejected 2 times in MSP, now I'm applying for third time. But like what according to you, like what we are like lacking in, like when we are uploading a, yeah, we are uploading a video of introduction video, you can say a promotional video, like how people promote your events, or MSP events in my community or college. So according to you, what we are missing out, like I saw Chhattisgarh, there is no MSP till now. Recently in my university only MSP is created, not in the Raipur or in the capital city, nothing here. So what do you think, like what we are lacking in, or we can say MSP DSC leads, what we are lacking according to you?
I won't necessarily use the word lacking because that's not always the right word.
Yeah.
If I have to talk about the student ambassador application, so with the student ambassadors, they typically check for a few things. Um, A, how well acquainted you are with Microsoft Tech, how you passionate you are about Microsoft Tech.
Yeah.
B, they definitely check how you have impacted your local, regional, or I mean communities or beyond as well. And
Yeah.
C, of course, generally, what sort of an impact do you want to make with technology outside in the world? What sort of a real world impact you want to make? And these are three criteria that tend to look for in these applications because when you're talking about the Inspire application, you're talking about your experience and um, how you want to make a difference with tech in the world. When you
Yeah.
talk about the teach video, you're definitely showing
Yeah.
your basic interest in tech and how well you can teach.
Yeah.
And see, of course, promote because you're going to be involved actively as an ambassador. You are an evangelist on campus, so you
Yeah.
need to know how to share that message across in your local region. So when you talk about these, of course, along with the points I mentioned, you need to be very good at expressing your opinion and your perspective. You need to
Yeah.
have good communication skill. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be the greatest skill. You don't need
Yeah.
to have a very good command over just, for example, English, because we
Yeah.
have ambassadors who focus more on their local vernacular languages as well, and they create that impact in their community. So it doesn't have to be just English, but you
Okay.
need to know how to express your points clearly and properly.
Mhm.
And that is somewhere where a lot of people end up missing out.
Yeah. Mhm.
um, it's not that people don't have those abilities, it's just they don't know how to express those things. And
Yeah. Yeah.
with the program managers, they do not know you personally. They won't be able to judge on the
Yeah.
basis of who you are until you are able to express who you are. So I mean, I'm not going to say that was the criteria through which people get rejected, but I have actually, a lot of people do end up approaching, talking about their profiles, about their questions, answers, videos. And a lot of times people end up not expressing
Mhm.
what they want to because they intend to express how great they are. But if you're lacking confidence, if you're not looking at the video, if you're not maintaining that sort of a contact, if you're
Yeah.
looking elsewhere, then you're acting lost. You're actually, I mean, even if you're not, but it seems like you're lost.
Yeah.
It seems like you're not expressing properly. And
Yeah.
for them, of course, considering, in the program, considering that you will be an evangelist
Mhm.
for the brand, for the product, you need to have some of those basic abilities.
Yeah.
And these are things that can be developed with experience. You need a bit of experience, even if it's club experience, because when I'd applied, I just had clubs experience. I
Yeah.
had a bit of tech, I had a lot of clubs and a lot of that stuff. Because even today, I will not say I am the techiest person in the group. I will never be the techiest person in the group. I will be the one who's definitely learning from others, who's looking
Yeah.
at others, and
Same
just
with
trying
me,
my
bro.
own thing
Same with
along
me,
the
bro.
way. But I am not the because even if I talk about open source, if I'm not a regular contributor. I'm just still trying to learn and make my own way.
Same, bro. Same,
But
bro.
when I talk
Sometimes,
about,
sometimes just
yeah,
got inspired from Kunal only because he is doing
Kunal's a
lot of
great
stuff.
idol.
Like he's
Kunal is a great idol.
because
Absolutely.
handling the community of like code for cause, he is improving in himself only. Like he's like recently a CNCF intern. I just got more
Yeah.
motivated with him, like how that person is
Kunal,
doing.
Kunal is a great idol to have if you want to get into open source, if you want to experiment with tech, if you want to grow. I mean, keeping a tech
Yeah.
perspective in mind, Kunal's a great idol for that.
And there is my one of my batchmate, just from your point of view, he said to me, just ask one question from Aditya, like I have not done anything in like 1 or 2 year, I'm not I have to do in the gate. Can I will be able to crack the big giant, not a big giant, but he want like in third and fourth year, the 2 year I have left, in this 2 year I want to contribute in open source also. I have to build my own profile or portfolio. And can I get in a big MNC, like if we are having in a Durg or in
Fang
a
and all.
town type of city? Can now in 2 years can he crack it? Can he or can she can do that? According to you, what your
So, so if we take, I mean, different companies in mind, if we take off-campus procedures, they don't discriminate on which college. They discriminate on the profile, the resumes and all.
yeah,
Not, I won't say discriminate. I would rather say they select
choose
on
the
based on
better one?
those.
Yeah,
Because yeah, of course, when you're talking about off-campus, it is strictly on ability. It's strictly
yeah,
on how much work you've done.
yeah,
Now, even if they've not done stuff in the first and second year, open source, if I'm taking this open source does not discriminate, it does not care.
yeah,
If you can do the work, you can do the work.
yeah,
It's on you to take a smaller start and move up. It's on you if you're comfortable enough to jump onto something big. That is something you have to decide.
yeah,
But open source definitely doesn't discriminate. You can do that as long as you're well acquainted with the tech, if you're learning, if you're growing, and if you want to contribute. You
mm,
can do that. And the community is definitely welcoming there. Um, if I have to talk about big giants have certain requirements that you need to work at.
mm,
Say, if you have to work on your DS algo skills, you have to work on those skills. If you have to develop some projects, you have to do that.
yeah,
Those are prerequisites. You need that because your competition will have that.
yeah,
And
mm,
you can do that in your third year. It's not that you can't.
mm,
One thing I have to mention to anyone who's focusing on the companies, please don't beat yourself up if you miss it in the first go. I will tell you something. Microsoft's intern form came out this year, right? They had that requirement of 8 CGPA. I missed it because of that, because I don't have a GPA. And that's okay. So because I know for a fact if I miss it now, I can keep working, I'll keep growing. And
mm,
if I really want to, I'll work for it and I'll get it sometime in the future. I'll get it in my own time, and that's okay.
yeah,
Please don't beat yourself up just because some people are getting it right now and you aren't getting it right now. Because for someone who's getting it right now, they've been working at it they started at a different period of time. They've
yeah,
got in that work.
yeah,
If you're
bro.
starting now, you will achieve that level. It'll take some more time, but you will get there as long as you keep working.
No, because bro, like as you say, like they have started earlier as from us, but like there is a view of like after final year I have to be a job so that I can show to my family, like yeah. So from that point,
I
like
can I can imagine.
like people are saying like I have to
Um,
after final year, if I didn't crack Google or Microsoft, I go to any startup or a company, I have a no future after that. So from here
that's
point of
nothing.
perspective,
There's
yeah,
nothing like that. There's nothing like that.
they have
It's not that there's no future. There is enough future.
yeah,
There's enough things you can do to get there. I'm not kidding. People think this is very true and this is very common. People think, if they don't get into a big company in the start, they won't make it later, and that's absolutely not true.
yeah,
At the end of the day, what is a company's requirement? The skills, right?
yeah, yeah,
If
bro.
if you're moving to another company, they will still test those skills, and if you've got those skills, then why can't you jump in? Of course you can.
Because I have to ask, you can say an emotional question, kind
Sure,
of.
sure.
Many of them, like they are very scared of, like if I am not getting any job, so I have to do like a gate. So what according to you, you have to listen to your heart or your brain? Like I have to, like
You have to
suppose
work with both.
I have to there is
You
my
have to
two.
work with both.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'll tell you what. So for me personally, I am focusing on developer relations as my preference of career. I know for a fact there's not going to be too many jobs in it.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on the community domain. It's growing now.
Yeah.
There's still stuff coming in, but I know for a fact there's not an excessive amount. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to follow my heart. I'm trying to work there. At times, I will have to focus on what are the logical options
Yeah, bro.
as
Yes, bro.
well. And of course, you have to plan, you have to think about if you choose not to go for just your top option, but you still want to achieve that, how can you make your way to that? You have to plan about that to some extent. And that is something I do personally as well.
Hmm.
And about the fear, I can tell you, I face it every day.
Same with me, bro.
It
Same.
is normal to have that fear. It is good to have that fear. If you have a fear that your dreams big, it's big. That means you actually are trying to focus on something valuable. Now, when you have that, you have to just continue working for it.
Because
And the moment
like when I started the community in my college, or you can say in my region, I feeling like so much fun, like I have to handling like I have done many like talk with many speakers, and I'm conducting many events. So I think, hey, this is a lot of fun. Like if you become a community manager, so what do you think, what is the like same connected question, like what do you think, what is the future of community manager in India? Like if anybody goes like I'm not going for a developer, or not I'm not going for, you can say, another technical point, but I am going for a techno management point and handling a community. So what do you think, is this a like kind of a job, like kind job mean who can pay to us, like the paying point in Indians, like पैसा तो आना चाहिए ना भाई, बिना पैसे के हम लोग क्या क्या काम करेंगे, कम्युनिटी मैनेजर कर रहे हैं तो वो
samajh
फ्री में
rahe,
तो ना करते रहेंगे, हमको तो पैसा चाहिए ना, तो वो वाला
I
पॉइंट।
understand. Yeah,
व्हाट अकॉर्डिंग टू यू दैट पॉइंट है ना, that point will bring someone like doubt, like if anyone want very interested in community management, but they are very scared, like if I go, I have no like communities working on a free point, because today's the
there's a
trend is
lot. There is
we are
professional work in
conducting back to
communities
only
right
free
now.
point. So we didn't get like as if I am taking an example of mine, I am very interested in community management and I'm managing communities. So but I didn't make that part of as a job. You can think in India it can possible to become a job.
It is becoming a job. I'll give you a perfect example. You see
Yeah,
this phone, the OnePlus Nord.
yeah.
Um, I bought this for myself from the money I made from my internship at Prograde, which was focused on community development.
It's true, अरे bro. I didn't know that, bro. And I think so. You are interning at
So
Pro. I am volunteering at that
I
moment.
am
I'm
now
thinking
I'm
that you are
now interning in a different position, but so I became a community intern for Prograde back in April. I worked till September. Then
yeah,
I dropped out because of some personal academic commitments,
yeah,
and I've rejoined in a different sort of a role for some amount of time. That's in focusing on user research.
yeah,
Um, Keeping Prograde aside as well, we had community intern and manager positions come out in CodeChef recently. We have um, Postman put out a position for student community lead. I think that was the title.
yeah,
Um, if you want some of the great examples, of course, with Prograde, you've got Yashraj Nayak, India Community Manager for Prograde. You've got, I think, one of my personal idols and someone who I believe is my mentor, Paras Pandir. He's program manager for Reactor, which is again a community role
yeah,
because Reactor is their community program. It's Microsoft's community program. So that again is there. You have a lot of companies bringing a community driven. Similarly, of course, we've got MLH now. You've got Yashwardhan Agarwal as Hackathon community
yeah,
manager for the
yeah,
APAC region. And in that way, if we talk about community management, that is a big facet. That's one of the primary facets of developer relations.
yeah,
And it doesn't just impact, it's a lot of companies in the tech domain are moving towards a community driven approach right now
mm,
because entry level is one factor, of course, but if you check major companies, even if you check Google and all, they have community program managers for different programs.
yeah. That's
Till a
true.
few months back, there was a position open for a CPM in the crowdsource team. You've got these positions out there, and it's one thing if you're really dedicated towards that domain. If you research, you will find these positions as well.
Yeah, bro. Because
It's not that they aren't available.
from that point, the proper information, you can know information or knowledge flow is not here in right now. You got to know
That's
because
something that you have to work towards.
like because
It's one thing when we talk about an
your
SD
team
role.
has your team has that part, because sometime I believe that I have created a team but some only few people are working, uh, creating a team here is like you can say a very tough point because obviously as I told you 99% people are going for gate and 1% who are those who are from like you can say who are not doing like oh, you have a backup plan, you can say they are doing a cat or something like that, so they are joint community for that. But for those for 1% or you can say 0.0%, I will say, so the knowledge flow is like because if I just focusing on like some on internship, so no like you can how can I will tell you that part is that ki people are not focusing on that one domain. Like I am, if I'm focusing on domain of machine learning, I will focus on machine learning, I will bring the more opportunity. But machine learning is not an like community is built up from the not from machine learning, it is web and all the tech stack is available in today's in industry. So there is a problem here is that because many people are not focusing on particular like domain. If I put in like I've divided or I structured the community to like you will handle UI UX designing, you are handle web development. But like most of them they are not, because they are saying just ego factor, you can say I have to do an internship. They are not really do internship, but well I have to do internship, so I didn't get a time for that. So if you are leading a community, say, so how will you like encourage that कि like करो यार, हो जाएगा क्या पता है तुम लोग को भी बहुत सारी opportunities मिल जाए. So how will you like motivate the team? Basically, I'm focusing on that.
Okay, so for me, that process starts directly from the recruiting time.
Yeah,
And so even with my developer student club,
yeah,
um, of course, I am right now a core team member, but when we were recruiting, since I had been actively working with my lead, I
yeah,
was involved in that process to quite, I mean, to the point where I practically managed a chunk of it.
yeah,
Um, I will mention one thing: when you're recruiting, if you have a core team, you have to make sure that the core team believes that it is just as much their
hmm,
initiative, it's just as much their community as it is yours.
yeah, bro.
It's one thing when we designate roles, and of course, we designated roles in the start as well.
Hmm,
But when you start with that process, the ownership of those roles is that particular person. So, as much as we start, we might give a certain nudge in the direction.
hmm,
But if they're there in a leadership position, if they if they have the freedom and to work in their own way, if they have their autonomy, if they are respected like an equal member, because of course it's one thing when my lead is there, but
hmm,
one thing from the start that my lead has done is he's ensured that nobody looks at him like he's a lead. They look
hmm,
at him and they consider him as he's a team member.
yeah,
And
bro.
when you've got that sort of a team where everyone owns up for their own activity,
Hmm,
you have a culture where people will work for it, because it's their thing. It's not just your thing and they're a part
yeah,
of it. It's their thing. They are owning that thing. And when you own something, you
yeah.
will always nurture it and care about it in a very different way.
Yes, bro. True,
So
bro.
that process for us started from the recruiting side. Definitely that's how we started.
Yeah,
And sometimes I will say that there are times, when you have commitments where you can't, I mean, sometimes I can imagine, because with my internship, I have some projects with my team that I'm not able to focus on at that particular time.
yeah, bro.
But then, we try to compromise, we discuss. If I am busy at some time, I will work at a different time.
Yeah,
If they
bro.
are busy at a different sometime, we'll cover up for them. So you have to have that sort of an understanding. You have to develop that with your team, because if you're not able to develop that sort of an understanding, then
Yeah,
you will not be able to collaborate
yeah.
um, in the long run.
Yeah, true, bro. Another question like that, it's focus on startup, and you can say Imagine Cup. Imagine Cup, I know, but in my community there is no one know who is even I've tried, but I'm not a proper one to explain Imagine
I
Cup.
didn't know
Uh,
until I was an ambassador as well. That's okay.
so
Until I joined MSP, I did not know what
basic
Imagine
intro,
Cup
like
was.
why if you're first like most important question, if I'm not a MSP, can I apply to Imagine Cup? First question.
Of course, MSP is a very small group within students. It's open for all students.
And just give a just you can say a brief intro about what is Imagine Cup to the yeah.
So Imagine Cup is a global competition. It's structured like a hackathon, although it isn't spread out like a traditional hackathon. But it, in its essence, is a global hackathon that is managed by Microsoft. and it is open for all students to participate, and it is organized at such a scale. You've got a prize amount of about 75 $80,000 as the grand prize, along with hundreds and thousands of dollars of as your credits. um, so that it is a huge competition. It
Yeah.
runs every year. It's been running every year for the past 15-16 years now, although definitely in more recent times it's reached a very different scale.
Yeah.
But it's been there for quite a long time, and I would urge everyone to participate in Imagine Cup. It's
Because
really a great
first of all,
opportunity
yeah, because
to
I
work on a
think I
project
stand that.
that is close to you.
Yeah.
Because with Imagine Cup, while you've got certain domains, definitely there are some focus domains. So like this year, you've got education, you've got health, you've got
Yeah.
lifestyle, and there's one more that I always forget. um, but I mean, there's four domains you can work on, and I mean, I'm personally working towards Imagine Cup as well. I'm working with my team as
Yeah.
well, and it's really a great opportunity to work and try and scale your own product.
For that product point, I'm going into depth, you can say. Like
Sure.
there is no industry setup here. No, focusing on tech industry, I'm just saying. Like in Chhattisgarh, there is no tech industry saying, and we not know what need to be a quality or testing point, you can say. An industry has standard to like if I built an app, I'm not testing. I'm just a beginner. I have a work with my team. I just built an app. Okay, it's a cool app, amazing app. But when we like going for, like, suppose in Imagine Cup, you can say, or in any, you can say, I'm just pitching my idea to like suppose in any investors again. So they are saying like there is something standard, you can say, that there is some industry standard you have to do that, but we do not know like what is the standard, what we need to testing. Like in here college, everyone is doing development, but there is no one who know about the testing point, you can say, how to test. If I want to test my, like suppose if I have to test my phone, so how I'm not a, like a beta tester, how to test. So according to you, we are lacking in industry point also. Like those state who are
I'll
just
tell you what.
yeah,
Uh, I have to pause you right there. Testing is something that comes later. Even before developing a solution, you first have to figure out what problem you want to solve. And
yeah,
when you're trying to find a problem you have to solve, you have to start with yourself.
yeah, yeah, bro.
You have to figure out what problems you have faced, what problems your peers have faced. You
Yeah.
figure out the problem first.
Hmm.
It doesn't, of course, industry exposure makes a difference, but when you're trying to do something and you're not going to be copying something that's happening in the industry, because be it testing or anything else, I mean, if you want to look at that, I mean, more than major organizations, I will say look at how startups work,
Yeah.
because you will have to follow similar procedures, to be honest. When it comes to pace, when it comes to scaling, when
Because
it
like
comes to
bro, it's come
development,
to, like, you can
when
say,
it comes to
software development
ideating.
principles, because it built on the like if I randomly made a app, like
I'll
I
tell
have a
you,
solution for that. But there's some principle, you also, there's some principle of software development. Like I have to do this is the process, and like I have made the app, and I have to go from this to this to test this app will be in like in a competitive,
you
not
first
a
have to stop. You have to stop. You have to stop. You have to think about a lot of things before you even start developing the app. You have to
yeah,
first figure out your problem. You have to
yeah,
figure out how many people face this problem, what scale this problem is working at, whether this problem is actually a valid problem or not, whether
okay,
there are existing solutions along with that. So before you even jump into developing, testing is a very later phase, because once you
yeah,
figure out your problem and its audience, you will automatically have a testing base. You will know
yeah,
where to test it. So before you even jump into development, you first have to figure out your problem
okay.
and the audience it impacts.
Yeah, like if I'm just focusing on the machine learning end, nowadays, no one buy the
Before,
GPU.
again, before picking a domain, you
Yeah,
first have to think about a problem.
yeah. No, I'm just
You have to
taking an
start,
instance.
you have to start with the problem,
I'm just taking an
because
instance.
there are
Like
so many ways to solve problems.
yeah,
You feel you want to solve a problem with machine learning, there might be a different way and a better way to do it.
yeah,
Something
okay,
that you feel requires more complex AI
yeah,
could just actually be done with maybe it's possible to do it with robotic process automation, for example. So
yeah,
sometimes we feel that it needs to be complex, because we're trying to show the complexity of our solutions, but um, we first have to figure out a problem. We have to first figure out the problem and the audience, and then start thinking about how we want to solve it. Because at times we will find that, um, while of course there's a very complex solution that you can build, you don't need to. It could be better in the longer run, but maybe possibly, and but then again, it might not be. So, you have to
Okay.
start, you have to change the process by which you're thinking around your products. You don't have to jump to testing. You
Okay,
can't think about testing. You can't even think about development until you have figured out what problem you're trying to solve.
okay, bro.
And this
My
is something that's a very common thing, because, we're often pushed that we have to make projects for our resumes, that interviews need projects.
yeah.
But when you're talking about it from a product that you want to scale, when you talk about it from a startup perspective, you follow the same process. You
Yes, bro.
absolutely cannot.
And
Because you might end up building something that
hmm,
looks great, but is something that no one wants. So
okay.
yeah, one
So,
second.
yeah. So, more on Imagine Cup, like team is required. So, how much team it is about? Like, is it
This
required a
year
team,
they
or
this
I
year
can
they've
do a
allowed up to four
single-handed?
members.
I can do single-handed, or
This
I
year
need a team for that.
this year they allow up to four members. This year it used to be three. You
Okay,
can do it single-handed. I will never recommend to. It's not that you can't, because 2019 winner was a single person.
okay, bro.
The 2019 global winner,
Yeah.
who developed Easy Glucose, was a single person.
Okay, bro.
So it's not that you can't. But when you have a larger team, it makes things easier for you, because you can delegate tasks. You have different people thinking on different aspects.
Yeah, bro.
Um, so that'll just make it easier for you to work.
So my next question towards MLH: how to become an MLS coach, bro? Give me some insights.
Okay, for the coach, it's first thing to start with is what the coaches are. The coaches are essentially people who assist, who help hackers, who help hackathons in their running, and of course, they've got both technical experience, they've got management experience. There's a lot of facets to it.
Yeah.
So you will find coaches managing the first person hackathons that are happening. So the ones, like, take for example the hackathons that MLS directly conducts. Like, for right now we have Doremi hacks and all. We have
Yeah.
give back hacks going.
Yeah.
These hackathons which are directly conducted are managed by coaches. Then you have member events where coaches are helping out.
Yeah.
And coaches essentially assist hackers as well as organizers. So when you look at what the coaches are doing, there are two aspects. You need to have experience from the perspective of a hacker, and you need to have the experience from the perspective of an organizer.
Okay, bro.
Having some from the perspective of a mentor helps a lot as well,
So,
because
like, is
getting
there
from
any interview
participant to
process
organizer, you
going
need to
on?
mentor in
Like
between.
for coach for MLH coach, there is any interview process going on for that?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. So after you fill in your resume,
Yeah.
there's going to be 5 written questions that you get,
Yeah.
or talking about your experiences with the community, talking about your experiences with hackathons,
Yeah.
some more personal about you.
Yeah.
And based on these, after these, you get called to the first interview. There are 3 interviews in the process.
Three interviews.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go on,
So
bro.
in 2 of them, you will also have situational discussions.
Yeah.
Apart from basic questions, you'll also be enacting certain situations.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what happened with me. We had situational discussions based on possible situations, and these are designed as pressure tests
Okay.
to
So,
crack the person in the interview. So these aren't interviews that you go in prepared for, because the moment you over prepare and the
mhm.
moment your spontaneity is gone, you can't survive them. It is really
So
dependent on your experience.
because related to that question only, like it is related to a community manager. If I am referring MLH
Not
coach.
just community manager, more specific to a hackathon domain.
Okay.
Because so for me personally, I started hacking this year. My first hackathon was Rookie Hacks. The first hackathon I was involved as an organizer in
Yeah.
was back in 19. I started working in 18 as an organizer for our university's hack. So I have organized more than I can't say the same now, but
Yeah.
when I had just applied, I had organized
Yeah.
more than I'd hacked.
Yeah, bro. True.
So that was my journey, and it's not the most common way, but it's definitely, I mean, that was there for me because I had that experience, I had that exposure, I had the exposure of a participant. I
Yeah.
had spoken at hackathons, judged at a hackathon as well. I was a judge at Hack Jaipur as well. So I had all of those perspectives and experiences with me.
Yeah, bro. Hmm.
And
So
really
uh,
that those interviews are going to depend on your experience totally. You
because
can't
if like
prepare.
if I'm
I
comparing
went in
you,
unprepared for every interview of MLS because you can't prepare for coaches interviews.
yeah,
You need to
bro,
be
that's why I'm
spontaneous. You need to
asking.
be
Yeah,
on your toes throughout.
because bro, the organizer where you're organizing, you are in the relief. Same question again lies to my town. If town or a city, you can say. So we have not that much environment here. So for that
Virtual
experience,
hackathons.
yeah.
You don't need your location for virtual hackathons. You can run it across the globe.
No, from the starting, like I'm not focusing on the virtual, but I am
Mhm.
focusing on the on-site. You can say offline hackathons. So hackathons culture has bringing in the India is too much as a exponential rate. You
It's
can
growing a lot.
yeah. So but you can say in my college hackathon is there, but you can say it is happening on the in a year once. You can say after year when there
Yeah,
is a
that's
fest.
there with most colleges. Most colleges do only one. You can have many competitions, that's one thing. But if you talk about one grand hackathon, most universities don't have more than one. One of the rare cases is VIT because they have
Yeah.
lots and lots of communities and clubs on campus. So they have each club, a lot of clubs. I mean, if not every, but quite a few of them organize their own hackathons. That's one exception. Otherwise, most colleges don't have more than one hackathon a year at a
Okay,
grand scale.
so I'm more into the startup and more focusing on India is in top three in startup arena. Will you prefer to student to go in startup arena? Like I have a podcast with Ishan Sharma. If you know, he's an YouTuber. Bits
Yeah,
he's sharing in Bits Go. So he's in interning. He's an intern at like in a social. I think he's handling the social handles of that startup. So after he have a podcast, he also some entrepreneurs. He is got a point. Uh, he is giving a not a given statement, but after a podcast with him, he got it. Just don't go with startup because it is kind of a hell kind of thing. Because you have not a money to invest it, so you are take up from the investors. Okay. So after making a product and after you say after the sales, the profit which came from the customers, they also taken by the investor only. So there is no you're taking you didn't get any money in your hand, getting, but the you can say a lot of potential, and any entrepreneur is having to create a massive product, but they didn't get any penny. So what your views? Even I have asked same question with Ali. So Ali has said that if you're working for entrepreneur, if you're working for startup, don't go for the money, because it is kind of a business, so it is kind of come sometime profit, sometime loss. So what's your view? Is it true what's your view? Just
so, with the startup ecosystem, you have to first really believe in the product that you're making before you jump into that system. Because if
yeah,
you're that passionate about the product and about getting it out there,
yeah,
then of course, you know, then money is not your primary factor. And
yeah,
if money is your primary factor, then startup may not be the best place to start. It's a great place to start, to be honest, if you are really passionate about what product you want to bring and share
yeah,
out there. But yes, in the start, it's a very tough space. It is a
yeah,
highly competitive space. And even about the point of the investors, of course, if someone has invested and they've got a majority share in your company,
yeah,
then by that logic, don't they technically own more than you if they're taking that much of the
yeah,
dividend?
yeah,
And of course, as an entrepreneur, if you've got your investors, it is your responsibility to show those returns as well.
yeah,
So,
true.
just the point that an investor takes the entire money, um, I'm kind. It's difficult for me to just comment on that because if you're unhappy with the sort of investment you've got,
Yeah,
then I think it'll be better if you restructure those deals a bit better for further funding rounds, or if you're more careful at when you judge how much amount, I mean, how you're structuring those deals, how much amount of the company you're giving out, because
yeah,
definitely one thing is that if your company doesn't become self-sufficient when it comes to
yeah,
the money aspect, if you're depending on the investors funding only,
yeah,
if you're
true.
technically not in profit, then how exactly are you going to take out money from there? It's one thing if you're paying yourself a salary, but when you start a company, when you start if you bring, the start startup, and
Yeah,
you can't. definitely jump onto the money, because you're not gonna get to a point where you're extremely rich overnight. That's not gonna
Yeah,
happen.
true, bro.
It could take a lot of time as well. It won't happen in the start. It could take a lot of time,
Hmm.
and that's okay. Because when you're going for that, your idea is to bring out that product, your idea is to scale that product. Your focus is more around the impact you're creating.
Yeah.
Money is a secondary factor, and if your product is successful, that will grow anyway along with that. But
No,
as
because
an entrepreneur,
like
as if you look at successful entrepreneurs,
hmm.
you will see that not a lot of them start with just a focus on money. They
Yeah.
start with a focus on scaling that impact.
Hmm.
The money
So
comes later.
according to you, what is important? Like product is always also important, but scalability, like many I have take like I have watched many videos on Rishit Agarwal, the top entrepreneurs in our country. So they are more focusing on the scalability. Like if you can scale your product or you can or your service, you can become a big giant in our country. So what
Of
according
course,
to like what?
that's there for any startup in any country. Until you don't scale it, you're not maximizing the impact it can make. So you need to focus on quickly getting it out there, and definitely that does have to focus. I mean, that will bring in aspects of marketing, that will bring in aspects of growth hacking. There's going to be a lot of things that are happening there. But of course, um, any product is successful, is truly very successful only if it scales to the masses, right?
Yeah, bro.
If you
Okay.
think about it, how do you judge the success of a product? If it is able to impact as many people as possible,
Yeah, bro.
that is the
So
impact of a product. If it's solving an issue for many, and that is
yeah.
exactly relating to what I was talking earlier about getting into these projects.
Hmm.
Um, Before developing, you have to first figure out what problem you're solving and how big the audience for that problem is.
Okay, so coming back to the last question of this podcast, uh, if you were in my place right now, okay,
Yeah.
I will be more practical. uh, मेरे कॉलेज को कुछ नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, थोड़ा ध्यान, कोई बोलेगा नहीं मेरे पॉडकास्ट में कुछ भी गाली वाली, ठीक है? सो if yeah, I'm just coming with that question, like I'm from coming from that college who is less supportive in point of like they are saying they're saying in my college, like many toppers of gate here, so they are supporting in my even I'm just, if my professor, in most of my professor saying, why are you doing this is a useless part, why are you doing this, you can go for the gate, like there's a my mentality is created about the gate. So and not you can say I have a support, but not that support that getting others like on the point of gate, that they're getting classes for gate, something like that, but I'm didn't getting a 0.1% of that support. You can say the support is less here. So according to you, how you establish the, I'm not saying that you we can establish, because it takes times to establish a community trend in any state, or you can in any region. So according to you, what steps you will take what steps you will take to build a community here, if I'm yeah.
Okay, I am currently in a position where in my university there is a lot more focus given to research activities.
Yeah.
There's a lot more support given for research, considering we have tie-ups with IEEE and all our
Yeah.
conferences is tied up with IEEE. And we in my college again, it's a very similar scenario where there's a lot more support for research. So if I have to talk about recognition at a university scale, I'm not gonna say I get that recognition, but then again, I've not gone in expecting that. So, um, what I'll say is that if you think, as someone who's focusing on communities, you want to and you can make that impact,
Hmm.
do it anyway. Don't expect a thanks from the university, because you're not doing it for them. You're
Yeah.
doing it for the people, right? Your
Yeah.
focus is the people who are learning and growing with you.
Like suppose
So
like
do it with them, do it for them. You'll get that recognition anyway. I will tell you something. If I have to talk at a university level, I am not a recognized fellow. I'm not. And that's
bro,
okay for me.
I believe you are.
I'm talking from an authority perspective.
Okay, yeah.
I am not a recognized fellow. Um, and for me, I don't work expecting that. I'll tell you what. So when I started with college clubs, we did a lot of work for college. We did a lot of work for the department. It seems like it's doing it. It might give returns.
Hmm.
but it doesn't always do. So for you, it's very necessary to figure out that what you're doing does help you grow. And I think this is something Ali might have focused on as well, is that if you're working with an initiative, if you're working for an initiative, make sure that there is some equity in the amount of growth.
Hmm.
So, if the initiative is growing, you have to make sure that, you personally grow as well.
Yeah.
And of course, that will happen. I mean, it happens that, when you work on a university perspective, you focus on the university name. That's the same with companies as well. If you work for a community, you might focus more on the community name.
Hmm.
Um, just keep in mind, if you have to see what personal growth you're getting. And if you're getting the personal growth you want, go
Like,
for it. If you
like,
feel you're not gonna get it,
hmm.
it might seem great, but don't.
Okay, something related to that question. Like, what would you prefer? If you prefer a community which is unofficial, like DSC is official with the universities kind of thing. So, if I'm running a community, an unofficial and official, what would you prefer? In official, there is a kind of, you can be hold of the university or the college, and you can get a space here to to any, you can take any webinars and workshops. But on the contrary, on the other side, like, you are an unofficial group, you didn't get any space to tell you the about any webinars you can't take on your college because it is unofficial. You can't go for the you can say against the college kind of thing. So what do you think, which would you prefer, official one and unofficial one? In unofficial one there is
Let
a
me tell you, yeah, I know what you're talking about, because currently also my DSC is not managed as a college club.
okay.
Yeah, it's managed as a normal open community. A lot of our members are not Amity students. So I will tell you the perks of both.
Yeah.
When you do a college club, of course, you get infrastructure from college. That is, in an in-person event, your college will provide you a room
Yeah, bro.
if you request for it at the right time. Again, there's no guarantee that you'll get that. Um, you're not gonna get money or food everywhere. Very few places get that. It's a very rare thing. So,
Yeah.
to some extent, you still have to depend on your own abilities to grow it. And at the
Hmm.
same time, college clubs aren't bad, because I'll tell you why. Um, if you have alumni from certain clubs, if you
Hmm.
have people who are dedicated to those, you will still be able to interact with these people in the future.
Yeah.
And that does happen at times.
Hmm.
But it's of course, that's something you can network and get outside as well. You might get some support, like, so for college ACM, IEEE chapters and all.
Hmm.
If the college is in touch with distinguished speakers, they can help get those.
In this
But
I'm
it
like,
doesn't mean that a college affiliated organization, a non-college affiliated organization can't do that. It doesn't mean that. You
because
can
I'm
still
not
do
bragging
it.
about my
And
community, but I will say that many clubs are created in my
when
college.
you
Yeah, go on, go
when
on, go
you
on.
run a club or so if I'm talking about it from a college perspective,
Yes.
if my community is not affiliated with the college, I will never call it a club.
Yeah.
And the biggest advantage that gives me is my autonomy to operate how I want outside of college.
True, bro. True, bro.
Your community will not be restricted to your college, because the moment you do that, you restrict growth.
Yeah.
Now, that could, so if it's something like an IIT, if it's a BITS, if it's an NIT, if it's a premier institution where you have an exclusive club,
Yeah.
that has very different perks, because you've got a very different alumni base, you've got very different
Yeah.
opportunities. So I can't compare with that.
Yeah, bro.
But if you don't have that sort of a base,
Hmm.
then you have to really think about what your college is providing,
Hmm.
versus if you are an unofficial, what you can do with your autonomy. And you have to judge those perks, because even after that, if you feel it's easier for you to operate on your college
Hmm.
grounds, if it's easier for you to operate that way, then that's perfectly all right. I know for a fact there are clubs in my college. I used to work with university clubs. I used to do a lot of work at one point,
Hmm.
and they help you build a base and an audience within the college.
Hmm.
um, Keeping college support aside, but you just have that restriction where you have to operate within certain guidelines.
Hmm.
Similarly, if you're not an official college club, if you're a community in general,
Hmm.
you have the freedom to operate outside.
But where, bro,
No,
that
for
point
me,
out to
if
be
I talk
like
about
I
my
have
own
to
experience,
take a
I could
financial
end up
point of view.
collaborating with a different college. And even if you want to still operate in your college, it is not that you cannot collaborate with another community or a
Yeah,
college
true.
affiliated club.
I have done that part, but same thing.
Exactly.
Like I'm not bragging about my community, but those clubs which are formed earlier, I have my community has formed about 4 to 5 months back, and not again say I'm not bragging about my community, but if I'm comparing the clubs, they are not doing well as my community has done far about 4 to 5 months back.
Let me
So
tell you why. Let me tell you why. And I know you know the answer, but I'll still tell for the in the keeping the interest of the audience in mind.
yeah,
And that is because you're not restricted. You're not limited.
yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
That's not the person are like the people who are watching. I know मैं फिर से बोल दे रहा हूँ, कुछ नहीं चाहिए मेरे को, पर मेरा पॉइंट वही है. like many people came to me, juniors came to me, भैया आप इसको लेके आ गए, आपको पैसे मिल रहे होंगे इससे, आपको फायदा हो रहा होगा इससे पक्का. मेरे को like I have done
इतने
a session
पैसे
with
नहीं
Jason
है यार
Mays on
देने के लिए.
TensorFlow.js, and juniors text me like about 5 to 10 juniors DM me, भैया आपको पक्का इनसे पैसा मिल रहा होगा तभी आप कर रहे हो, मतलब आपका क्या
मैं एक
फायदा
बात
है.
बताऊं, I've heard the opposite कि इनको पैसा दिया होगा लाने के लिए. पैसे मिलने वाला मैंने नहीं सुना है पहले. अच्छा,
Because,
this is something for everyone in the audience. If you're
yeah,
talking about a community at this sort of level, you're not getting paid. If it's your community, this is strictly a non-profit initiative.
yeah, bro, that's the people are
It's
not.
one thing when you get sponsored for certain activities and initiatives. That's one separate matter altogether. But general talks aren't paid. We
Yeah,
don't have the as community leaders. We don't. I mean, at a student level, we don't have the
the
budget
right,
for that sort of a thing.
yeah,
I'm not even going to say whether it's right or wrong. I'm just going to say we don't have the budget for that.
because yeah, because we have created the community for that only, bro. Okay, we can provide a
The
free
idea is to bring that
education.
exposure. So
Yeah,
if that's the aim, then you know it's I this is something that I often see, and I recommend if to any person, if they're active in a community as a member and they see their lead trying to contribute, it
hmm,
really goes a long way to appreciate that, because simply because of one factor, that it is not an obligation for them to do so.
hmm,
And at the same time, they aren't doing it to show superiority. They're just doing it to help and contribute. And having a sort of a mutual respect situation between community leaders and community members
hmm,
is what at the end of the day uplifts any community, because that's exactly how you form advocates for your community. When you have that sort of a mutual respect scenario,
hmm,
your members will advocate for your community. People who are not active members will advocate for your community. Not
yeah,
even kidding. I mean, you might see the community is doing great. You know their lead, they're doing fantastic, but you're not a member. You still end up recommending people to go there anyway.
yeah, bro.
Like if I have to talk about ML stuff, I'm in the group, but when I look at Ali's TensorFlow group, when I look at TensorFlow Mumbai, I see the work they're doing. If I have to recommend someone, to check an ML community, I keep recommending check TensorFlow UG Mumbai. That is the group to
Yeah.
go to. That is how it should work.
Like I have seen it because I'm too in the community, TensorFlow user group Mumbai. So I've so like every day there is something related to question related thing or any discussion. Like I have like this community
That
is
is
like this is the
also,
community we can say.
that place is also one of the greatest example of a cohesive team. Because if you look at TensorFlow Mumbai's team, you've got Ali, you've got Shubham,
Hmm.
Shah, you've got Smith. With
Just
mentors, you've
yeah.
got Sayak Paul is there, you've got Rishit Dagli, you've got
Yeah.
Anshel. And I know a lot of these people. I know a lot of these
Yeah.
people personally because, Ali, we've had him over in Delhi at NG India. Shubham
Yeah.
was there with I've done an event at ProGate with Shubham. I've worked with him otherwise.
Yeah.
Anchal, I worked with at ProGate. Rishit is currently an active student ambassador.
Yeah.
I know the sort of team they're running. I love that team, to be honest. I love the way they work.
True, bro.
And these people work for the community because they want to. They don't work because someone's telling them to.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of a team that you should have.
But you can say not we can say luck because I when I have a talk with
That's
Ali,
not luck.
like we take a
That's not
lot.
luck.
He say only I take a lot of time in community. Then I have clarified. Like you can say filter out a good team. You can say a good team because everyone is trying to giving back to the community. You can say or giving help to each and every person.
You have to be very You have to be very careful, very that's exactly when you're choosing a team, when you're doing that,
Hmm.
that is the moment when you have to start seeing, because within the team, even apart from how much someone wants to contribute, you have to see how much you all match up,
Yeah, bro. Hmm.
how much you sink in. And if you have that, then that's great. Because with Ali and Rishit, I mean, I am also working with them when it comes to global AI community. We did
Yeah.
the global virtual AI on tour Mumbai. So I was one of the co-organizers there, and we're still
Hmm.
planning stuff. So um, when we look at the team, it is very important to have a cohesive team. And since I am a co-organizer with them, I've worked with them, I've seen how they work,
Yeah.
and it's really something to learn from.
Same with this last question podcast. Last question of podcast.
Sure, no worries.
Networking point, I'm just saying, like, people here, people want, okay, we will network that person, and okay, what we will get to know, like, not that particularly I'm saying, because there is people are thinking like, if we network, so what will, why we are wasting, like, if I'm working on my skills, so why we need a network, or we need to do a networking with the other person, or here in other person, the other mentality, like in those who are in the community, they are free, like we are great, we are working with the juniors also who was in 11 and 12, who are interested in community, okay, but those who are not in community, they are just giving me a back question, like we have done networking, so what we get to know about that person, okay, that person is good in tech or something, so it will, we will get a referral, or what, well, kind of a selfish, you can say, because communities as primary goal is to give a learning, but they go to in a secondary one, that's the monetizing one, you can say. So according to you, is it
Um,
important for networking is important, I know the answer, but
Networking is what I depend on.
yeah,
Um, so when I talk about networking, there are two aspects of networking. Of course, one is taking from people, learning from them. The other is contributing to them as well. When you network, you're not just trying to take something from someone, you're also trying to give back.
yeah,
And that is something people forget at every point of time. You can't just talk about, asking for a referral, asking for them to help you grow. You have to be able to give back. And um, sometimes it's very, because if you're, once you reach the shoes of the person who is being asked, and you come in as someone, hey, I am this person from here, I want to do this, tell me how to.
yeah,
I have seen those messages. I really sometimes feel like saying, and it's not one message, it's more often than I'd wish to. Because even with the student ambassador application, that's the most common place where I get those questions.
yeah,
It can get very tiring, to be honest, because it's really there's no sense of respect a lot of times.
hmm.
And it's like, people will be like, they'll come up, they tell me how to do this, see
Hmm.
my application, help me get me through this. I'm like, if I am doing this, then what are you doing? And if you really want something, why aren't you well aware about it? I'm
Yeah.
not kidding. I very recently had a message come in where a person like, hey, I am in first year. Tell me what to do.
I,
And I don't blame this person, to be honest, totally.
hmm.
I feel everyone who's coming into this sort of a situation is a victim of their circumstances, because
Yeah, bro.
um,
That's
for
true.
me, because I have seen how ideally you should. I've had good mentors. I mean, if Ali is someone who I consider a mentor, to be honest.
Yeah.
Similarly, I have other mentors. I've seen how they work. So I've learned from all of these. That's been one constant. I keep learning wherever I go. Even if it's something good, I try to include that. If it's something not good, I make myself more wary that I'm not doing that. So I'm always learning from whatever's happening around me. And
Because same thing, because many people are asking with me like, bro, तू कैसे कर लेता नेटवर्किंग भाई, कैसे बात कर लेते तो तूने बड़े बड़े लोग, मैं बोला लाइक हाउ यू अप्रोच दैट, मैं बोला कि ब्रो टाइम पास नहीं करना, हाय हेलो वाला चक्कर मत डालना, कि वो अब मान लो दूसरे कोई टाइम का होगा, मतलब काइंड ऑफ वो इंडिया से नहीं होगा, तो लाइक व्हाट इज द प्रोसेस
I have
अकॉर्डिंग,
some tips. I have some tips there.
या या
When you need to get in touch with a person, when you need to start a conversation, introduce yourself. And before you get into asking for what you want, try to appreciate something they're doing. Try to find a connection between what they're doing. The moment you have a connection, the rest of the conversation will not be a problem. Because to be honest, most people who are networking, who are active on that space, who you're trying to learn from. It's not that they don't want to help. A lot they do want to help. They're on there because they want to help, because they want to contribute. You just got to know how to ask. And I'm not kidding. So this is something that I have heard myself. कि कैसे बोल लेता है इतना मतलब आराम से मतलब it's just when you're asking for help, it doesn't make you a smaller person.
True,
That's the
bro.
first thing to remember. When you're asking for help, it's because you want to grow, and
Yeah.
people appreciate that. But there's always one aspect to it. If you're trying to grow, if you're trying to learn, if you need help, first see if you can get that done yourself. Because if you ask me for something that can be checked on Google, I'll tell you what, I get a question, what is student ambassadors? What I do is I just share the link, see for yourself first.
Yeah.
Because and I mean that's I mean this is something you can Google. You can Google if you see Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador, you are interested in it, you can Google and you'll find the site.
True, bro. Because
And
like if
um,
after sending the link, if he or she is not seeing that directly, mean he has no interest in as he's just time passing just with you. Like okay. Like I am your
so
big follower like that.
it's very funny because so for example, if I mean I get into trouble all the time. I need help at so many instances.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to ask for help, first I have to be able to first research to myself and see, if it's actually possible for me to do it myself.
Yeah.
Because until you're doing that, you're not dependent on yourself. So first you have to create that habit. And once you have that sort of a habit, once it's if it's really difficult for you, you won't have as much trouble asking because you couldn't have done more.
Hmm.
So that eases my mind because if I've done my research and I'm still not able to get it, I don't have a problem asking because I know that just on myself, if there's no information out there that I could find, then the only
Because
other option is to go this way.
bro, yeah, one like you can say I have a discussion with a guy. He just saying like many of them like Kunal, Aditya, they are doing well because they are in the Delhi. There are many huge events is going on, so they can get network with each other and have a like many
I'll
guys
tell you
like
my
Vishnu
start.
ma'am is there, like how we can do this here in Chhattisgarh.
So
We have
I'll
to
tell
go
you
to
my
Mumbai.
start. I'll tell you my start. My start started in college.
Yeah,
Until I joined the ambassador program, I had not been to a single meetup in the NCR. So I did not know how GDGs work. I did not know how other communities are working. I was not aware of this thing called campus experts.
yeah,
I
bro.
was not aware of something called DSC. I came to know about student partner because I heard from some seniors.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. My original motivation just to start with student partner was it look good on my resume. That's how I started.
Like I think so. Everyone
And
will.
I'm very honest and blunt about that. I
Yeah,
did not start because I wanted to do something great about the community. I
yeah.
started because I wanted something on my
True, bro,
resume. And at
true.
that point,
With
I
same
wasn't
with me.
aware of the
Because I
community.
have to give on my resume like I am a MSP or I am a DSC
That's
leader.
how I started. That's how I started. So I'll be honest, that's how I started. And that's how a lot of people start. And that's okay.
But
But
after they
it's
realize, yeah,
after joining that I found the community and I really understood what it's like. So that's why I keep contributing because it's given back so much to me at this point of time that I can't help but thank it in my own way by contributing back to the community. That's just my personal thing. I won't say that's how everyone has to work. That's
yeah,
how it's been for me because okay, another example of that whole factor of networking. How I got my first community internet network at ProGate. So
yeah,
I knew Yashraj.
yeah,
Yashraj is active in the community space. I generally asked him, if there's something like that coming out, if there's any positions around that. So he mentioned that, maybe not even to me, to maybe one of my friends, something like because we had a conversation, or one of my friends had a conversation like that, that in some
yeah,
time ProGate might release this position. And it wasn't released through their website. It wasn't released as a LinkedIn job. It was released by the India Relations Manager, Shun Uno. And he released it on the LinkedIn. And that's how I found it because I was connected with him. That's
yeah,
where the form came. The
yeah,
form after that brought a trial,
mm,
which I was able to get through.
mm.
And that's how I got my intern. Had I not been connected, I would not have known that there was a position coming out.
That's
That's what networking does for you. It opens up avenues. You get to learn a lot.
true.
Um, it's not always about just taking referrals and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really about being able to
Because
find someone whom
till
you can
now
learn
I have
from.
networked many people. I never send a message or just give me a referral. Just I need to talk with him, like what opportunities you got from like through LinkedIn, Twitter, like that. I have never. Many people are going for the referral, but
So
till now I didn't like send a message. Ma'am, please
so
give me
if
referral
even
for.
if I have to ask for a referral, I will never start my discussion that way. I will never ever start. Um, until I have a personal connection, I will never approach that person because when you talk about a referral, at the end of the day, the person has to justify it. So for that, they have to be connected with you. They have to know you.
Yeah,
You can't just send a resume and expect that they'll know what you're doing, right?
yeah. True, bro. Because many times people say like I've sent a referral, but they didn't. They see, but they didn't reply because it didn't
Why would
connect with
they?
you. Yeah,
Why would they? It's not an obligation for them. At the end of the day, if they are referring someone, they're essentially telling the company that they believe this person is deserving of coming in here.
yeah,
And if you're not, then you can't expect someone to do that. You have to be honest with yourself about that,
yeah. True,
whether
bro.
you actually deserve to be referred.
Yeah, that. Yeah,
And I know for a fact, so considering my work experience, it's one thing if I get an opportunity at a community role or something around a program manager. If I have
yeah,
to try for an SD role at
yeah,
something like at Google, Amazon, Microsoft,
yeah.
I know for a fact that if I send my resume expecting a referral, I'm not gonna get one because my work ex is not focused at that role, right?
That role. Same with me, bro.
My
Yeah,
work ex is focused at something else entirely.
yeah.
So
True.
if you have to be honest with yourself whether you are the one who deserves it out of other candidates, because at the end of the day they also have a limit, right?
Hmm.
They can't keep referring everyone.
Everyone. Yeah. True, bro. Hmm.
They can only go for a very limited number, and
Hmm.
they have to be the most deserving of all.
True. Hmm.
So
Okay.
you
Hmm.
can't just go in that you'll connect with someone and they'll refer you. That's not how things work.
I think so.
You
Many
first
who
learn
got
from them,
doubts.
interact, and yeah.
So like and
Otherwise, if anything comes up, you can contact me. We've got
yeah,
my
I will
materials.
share
You've
share
got
the like you can
my
say details,
socials. Yeah, yeah.
all the handles of Aditya here, and you will contact to I most probably say on the LinkedIn or Twitter. It's best a better way to
I prefer LinkedIn or Twitter. You can follow on Insta, but I'd prefer if work questions don't come there. It's just, I mean, I try to just segregate some. So it's not that I
yeah,
won't answer on Insta,
yeah,
but if you and LinkedIn gets swamped as well at times. Twitter is a good place. Twitter or LinkedIn are good because I focus on them for work. I don't focus on them for just chill stuff. My Insta still has a lot of chill stuff, even though there's a lot of other stuff as well.
yeah.
So you can take the handle. If you wanna connect for connecting, I'd love that. If you have work discussions, Twitter or LinkedIn would be the way to go. Or email. In fact, I'll share my email as well. So if you want to contact
Yeah.
on email, I don't mind
I
email.
will drop in the description, and I hope so you like this podcast, guys. And कम्युनिटी आपसे ही बनेगी, आपको ही चेंज करना पड़ेगा, अकेले कुछ लोग नहीं कर सकते,
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
कम्युनिटी साथ में ग्रो होगी. सो don't say like what you need, like what I'm saying is that focus on what you need actually. Is not like everyone is going to that thing, so I have to go from that part also. It depends on you. Just you need to make a path. It is difficult for starting as I am doing here, but you can do it. Just give some time, I think so everyone.
Absolutely. That can
So
very much be done. And one point I always love to mention that we're all in the same boat. एक ही नैया में है, अब बढ़ना है या डूबना है आप पे.
yeah, what a
तो
wow, wow. Okay, so end करते हैं इस podcast को. I hope you like it. Like, share, subscribe, and obviously share on the LinkedIn. I hope more people will connect with us, and let's build the India as the number one community trended country. I think so we
absolutely,
can make it. Okay, so bye
absolutely.
bye.